This seems like a weird gay porn setup, to be honest. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 122nd episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as well as the 10th episode of Season 3, titled Wizard for a Day. We begin this episode at the youth center where Billy and Tommy are doing kata, while Adam sets this up for them, telling them how cool it is to work out with the proper training. Then Rocky comes in with an obnoxious amount of books, complaining that he's involved in a Teacher for a Day project, which is then explained to the audience by what that means by Tommy. Thanks, Tommy. Turns out Rocky has to be a teacher for Mr. Wilton, a strict teacher. Suck it, Miss Appleby. Mr. Wilton comes in and he commands authority with the others, and he even gave Rocky his teacher's edition books, which seems like a really bad idea. Then of course, Mr. Wilton just breaks a wooden board. He demands that they treat him just as they would treat Rocky, and Tommy says, "I like your tie," which is hilarious because that had nothing to do with what was going on. On the moon, Rita sees what's happening with Rocky, and Rita wants to switch with Zed and Rita just like Rocky and his teacher. Zed then says, "Why not? I could use a vacation," and Rita grabs their staffs. Bulk and Skull are giving out parking tickets outside the youth center, and Bulk says that they're going to find trouble right away. Then they see Rocky, who's wearing a suit with the teacher's edition books, and they assume that Rocky is cheating, so they're gonna investigate him by popping out of trash cans in the hallway at school. They then just somehow open his locker, and they start to search his stuff. Meanwhile, we see that Rocky realizes that he left his books in his locker, and he runs back, finding no books. In class, Rocky struggles to teach science class without guidance, and he causes smoke to arise. Seems like this should have been a day where everyone had study hall instead. Meanwhile, Mr. Wilton is in a class with Billy and Aisha, which is being taught by yet another teacher. Season 3 must have really raised that budget, huh? Mr. Wilton keeps answering all the questions without being called on, and Billy tells him to lighten up, which is a shocking amount of attitude for Billy. By the way, this guy's name is Wilbur Wilton. That sucks. He tells Billy to stop talking or else he's going to get detention before he yells at some other kid. The teacher then sends him to the principal's office for disrupting class. Ooh! Zed mocks Rito, asking what he's going to do to defeat the Rangers, and Rito says that he's going to send down a monster. And Zed and Rita are laughing so hard about this. Unfortunately, Rito doesn't know how to make a monster, so he calls out Finster for help, and Finster refuses because he's not Zed or Rita. Rito says fine, grabbing Finster's clay figure. Rocky and Mr. Wilton run into each other at the park, and they lament how hard it is to be the other one. Golar says that Rocky is at the park alone, so Rito plans to send down the Tangas to attack him. Rocky leaves Mr. Wilton to go to the youth center when suddenly he's attacked by Tangas. As in, they thought that he was Rocky? Seriously. Do they just attack anyone wearing red? Whatever, Rocky flies in his ninja attire, fighting off the Tangas while they waddle away with Mr. Wilton. Adam, Tommy, Aisha, and Billy talk to Zordon about how Rocky needs help, so they get in contact with Kim because she's apparently doing gymnastics or whatever. Ninja Ranger power now! The six are together, and there's a longer fight against the Tangas, including Rocky zipping around while Tommy just tackles a few Tangas. I like the fact that they're getting a little bit more creative with these fights. Then Rito appears with Zed's staff, and Rocky sees him and he zaps Mr. Wilton, turning him into a monster. Marvo the Meanie. I'm really confused what this episode had anything to do about with wizards. Rocky says that they can't kill him because he's definitely a person, but he has an idea of how to slow him down, so it's morphin' time! Then they just run out of the way and Rocky tries to tell him to stop. Great plan, Rocky, you're killing it. The rest of the Rangers try to hold him back, and we see a translucent Mr. Wilton asking for help from the Power Rangers. All the Rangers keep saying that they need to be careful to remind the audience that we just saw Mr. Wilton get turned into a monster like 10 seconds ago, and Billy gets punched. Billy and Aisha charge forward, and they get turned into color-coded beakers. Then Rocky says that they could be noxious liquids, oh no! How about we focus on how your friends were just turned into soup, Rocky? Marvo then fires at the four others, turning Tommy, Kim, and Adam into liquid as well. Well, actually I'm pretty sure that Tommy's just straight up milk. Rito comes and retrieves the containers, and Rocky tries to sound tough about how he's going to win, charging Rito and getting the liquids back. Good thing he didn't smash them or anything. Then he teleports away. At the command center, Alpha talks about how much this sucks, and he says he wasn't programmed for this type of conversion. Rocky says, okay. And Zordon says that if he destroys the monster, Mr. Wilton will become normal again. But if he destroys the monster before they get the others back, the others will remain liquid forever. I mean, I guess that's plausible enough cause to make sure that they're present for their Zords in the Japanese footage later. The alarms go off and it turns out that Marvo was heading toward Angel Grove allegedly, although it looks like he's just dancing in the park. Rocky tells Alpha to shut up and think, and the two do some fake-ass science, which miraculously turns the others back. Billy says that being a teacher for a day really paid off, but like how? Back to action. The six show up in front of Marvo and he fires at them, but they duck. Rito sees that he's losing, so he makes Marvo grow giant. The Rangers call out their Ninja Zords right away, bringing them together to form the Ninja Falcon Megazord. And they immediately hit him via the ape and wolf punches. Then Rocky disarms from the Megazord, and his Zord defeats the monster. What are you doing? Marvo falls to the ground human-sized again, and he turns back into Mr. Wilton, saying that was an interesting experience. Rito then begs Zed for another chance. Meanwhile, back at the youth center, Billy breaks a board and Rocky walks up to talk about how it's definitely really hard to be a teacher as well as a student. Turns out Mr. Wilton is there with Aisha and Kim, talking about how he was saved by the Power Rangers. He says that he's learned to be more understanding thanks to Rocky. Why was he hanging out with two teenage girls? Bulk and Skull come up, accusing Rocky of stealing the teacher's edition books, and Mr. Wilton is pissed about this, breaking the board in front of them. This scares Bulk and Skull enough that they leave. The end. Over the credits, we see a cutscene where Bulk and Skull are yelling at someone for illegally parking, but then a big guy gets out of the car and they're immediately intimidated. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, not like super funny, but like just enough. This episode wasn't much to write home about, honestly, and you could have placed any Ranger into the episode instead of Rocky, and it would have been the exact same. That just goes to show you what kind of blank slate Rocky is, unfortunately. Also, I feel like this really would have been better suited as a Billy episode because, I don't know, it just fits better. Maybe it's just me? Other than that, we continue to see that Kimberly basically isn't even a Power Ranger anymore. I mean, seriously, there's no hand wave to say that she's busy or anything, she's just not around. Also, did anyone else find it creepy again? Also, I have to mention again, Mr. Wilton was hanging out with Aisha and Kim at the youth center? That's creepy. Other than that, perfectly serviceable, but definitely not the best Season 3 has to offer. Will it get better next time? Find out then, but until then, may the power protect you.